Hello! Today I'm gonna talk about K-pop Demon Hunters because I have also been on the bandwagon for that. Oh man. If I look tired or if I sound tired, it's because I am tired. As of recording this right now, it's 8 in the morning, which I know for some people is kind of like normal. For me, it's not. And even more so because I have not slept. This is great. K-pop Demon Hunters. Super fun. It is a Netflix movie that came out very recently from Sony Animations or Sony Productions. I remember seeing the trailers like months ago, and I wasn't like that interested in watching it from the trailers. I thought the concept was pretty interesting, but it wasn't anything I was like, "Ooh, yeah, I want to watch that." Even when it came out, I wasn't planning on watching it anytime soon, but then I had a couple of friends just like tell me to watch it. One of which was just like, "Hey, this seems to kind of be your vibe. You should probably watch it." My other friend said, "It's so good, you need to watch it." So I decided to watch it. I watched it at like midnight. That movie made me so hungry. I wanted Korean food so bad. Like some jjajangmyeon right now sounds so good. Some kimchi. I have some kimchi in the fridge, but kimchi at the time sounded so good too. I just got some like tteokbokki, bulgogi, some bulgogi jjigae. Oh, that sounds so good right now. Anyway, I just kind of want to talk about K-pop Demon Hunters, and furthermore, I also want to talk about because I don't keep up with K-pop as much as I used to. I used to be super into K-pop. I want to say like I was into it in the first generation of K-pop, and then definitely second generation of K-pop. But I kind of fell off towards the tail end when they're transitioning to third generation. It wasn't because I was just like, "Oh, I hate this," blah blah blah. It was just like groups just didn't really appeal to me, and a lot of the groups I was following were not really promoting, and so I just kind of naturally fell off of it, I guess. And when I say I was into first generation K-pop, I mean like one of the first, like, not even groups, like duos of K-pop that I was really into was Fly to the Sky. My brother, my cousins love Fly to the Sky. To this day, I would say all of us still love Fly to the Sky. Like, I remember when Boa debuted, and like I was listening to Shinhwa, Finkel, Baby Vox, SES, HOT. Oh man, SM had a chokehold on the first generation of K-pop, and then stopped listening to K-pop for a while because my brother kind of stopped listening to it, so I didn't really listen to it. But then I gradually got back into it because I know my cousins were still pretty into K-pop at the time. I think the group that got me into it, and I don't know if they classify as a first generation or a second generation group, is Epic High. I want to say so. The interesting thing about the first and second generation of K-pop is that there is like a defining thing that happened where you were able to kind of pinpoint the transitionary period, which is about like 2002, 2003-ish, 2004 maybe. And you were kind of able to pinpoint like, oh, when they were starting to transition into second generation, because that's when we started getting TVXQ. I think Super Junior was about to come out too at the time, or something like that. Around there, I don't know. Listen, second generation K-pop, I was not really into SM groups, which I know sounds blasphemous, right? Because SM produced so many good groups, right? They had Girls' Generation, Shiny, Super Junior, FX, and I was not really into any of them. I didn't hate any of their songs. Like, if their songs came on, I would listen to them. I'd be like, "Oh, cool, this is here." But I never really went out of my way to listen to them unless a friend really wanted me to listen to like a new song that came out. Like when Lucifer came out with Shiny, or any Girls' Generation song. The only like SM person I kind of followed at the time was Boa. I don't know why I give that spiel about like my history with K-pop. I honestly could talk about K-pop a lot, but we're here to talk about K-pop Demon Hunters. So K-pop Demon Hunters is a really fun movie. It's a very fun movie. It follows three K-pop idols. Well, more like one. It really follows one. But they're a trio named Huntrix, and they are not just tasked to be performers. They are also tasked to perform and pretty much make the Hunmun, which is like this seal, this barrier all over the world to stop demons from coming up. And they're tasked to pretty much protect it as well as make it golden so it can seal the demons off. There's some generational trauma here, but it's not like highly addressed. It's not like Everything Everywhere All at Once levels of addressing generational trauma, but it's still really fun. It's a very fun movie. It's goofy, which is endearing, and I just think it has so much potential for even more stuff. But I have some reservations about that I'll address later on. But overall, I do think the movie was very fun. And what makes it kind of fun is the animation style. I think the animation style was so fucking fun because they weren't afraid to make the characters exaggerated. And the thing is, these are female leads. And very typically in a lot of animations, they try to make the female leads very like prim, proper, like, or sexy or whatever. But no, they weren't afraid to make them goofy as hell, very exaggerated and just like unhinged. And that was so fun to witness. I don't think we see that enough. And I think that's so fun that they put that in this movie. I loved seeing Rumi and then her two bandmates, Mira and Zoe, be just kind of unhinged. It was just kind of fun to see that dynamic and see that animation style just be very fun and out there. The last animated thing I can remember watching that had like very exaggerated vibes or exaggerated animations was probably Turning Red. K-pop Demon Hunters, it has K-pop songs in it. You can't have a K-pop thing without K-pop in it. And let me just say, when I was first watching the movie, I got strong KDA vibes, which is not a bad thing. I love KDA from League of Legends. And so I got strong KDA vibes. And especially with Rumi's hairstyle. Rumi's hairstyle reminds me of Kaisa. And so I was just like, Kaisa? Am I watching Kaisa right now? Interesting. And so with the music, I love the soundtrack. The soundtrack's very good. My favorite song is Golden, which I think is the most popular song right now. And so call me basic, whatever. I really like Golden. Also, hot take, I prefer Soda Pop over Your Idol. I do. I'm sorry. Not really. I like Soda Pop a lot more. I'm not saying Your Idol sucks. I'm just saying I like Soda Pop more. Oh, something that I really enjoyed seeing at the very beginning of the movie is that they go through the different generations of just like Korean music. And like in the story of K-pop Demon Hunters, there was always like a trio of women who were tasked to be demon hunters and to steal the Honmun. What I thought was really cool is just seeing the different generations as they kept going. And just seeing like how much more animated they get as we get to the modern era, as well as just the different style. I just think that's super fun, and I'm glad that they included that in. The story is about Huntrix and them not just like defeating and trying to like vanquish the demons, but it's also a story about shame. It talks about shame a lot. That's kind of like the core concept of the demons. Speaking of demons, we have our main male lead. His name is Jinu. He is part of the Saja Boys. They are demons. That's not really a spoiler, honestly. Like that is a huge like point of the movie. Jinu is a demon. He has 4 other demons with him. If you were to ask me what their names are, I can only really remember Abby and Baby. I think Mystery is one, and Romance. So the Saja Boys are this like rivaling group to the Huntrix because they're demons, so they're trying to like kind of steal the Huntrix's fans. And the Saja Boys, like the thing is, they are kind of stereotypically K-pop boy pretty, or as I call it, and I might regret saying this, but it's like I kind of call K-pop pretty boys, I call them yaoi pretty because they are very yaoi pretty. And it's just a very stereotypical like pretty boy, which I know works for a lot of people. But the story kind of just like follows Rumi and Jinu a lot. The story is about them. And this might be kind of spoiler territory, but it's revealed very early on. But we find out that Rumi is part demon. She is half demon. So you know like someone's a demon because they have like these like marks on them. And Rumi has them. She was told to conceal them by Celine, who is her predecessor. And so also something to kind of address is that Rumi's mom was a demon hunter before her, and she died when Rumi was an infant. And so Celine, who was Rumi's mom's like fellow bandmate, kind of just adopted Rumi. Yeah, and so Celine's just like, don't show these, like it'll go away once we seal the Honmun and all this stuff. And so that's kind of like what was kind of like the factor for Rumi to not tell anyone, not tell her fellow bandmates Mira and Zoe, as well as just not let anyone know, because it's like, oh no, if you're part demon, then like we should be then we're gonna kill you kind of thing. That's kind of like the vibe, honestly. And then we also get Jinu, who like his whole backstory, which again is not really a spoiler, is that like he pretty much, well, this backstory that he tells first is that like in order to give his family, his like mother and his sister, a better life, is that he like made a deal with Guima, who is like the big bad demon. His main motivation is that he's working for Guima to take down Huntrix so he could get his memories erased. You also will probably find out that Jinu's okay, in my opinion. I don't love Jinu. The more I see of him on social media, the more I'm like, wow, one pretty boy can do one bare basic thing as like, you know, protecting someone, and fucking everyone would go all the rage for them. I'm just saying. Like, I don't think Jinu sucks. I'm very neutral to Jinu, but I'm not like in love with him. Like it feels like everyone else is. I'm not gonna spoil like all of the movie, obviously, because that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is like it's a very fun movie. I think it's just so fun. I think the story is very bare bones, but it's fulfilling in that way, where it's just like it's not trying to do anything too crazy. It's a very simple concept and it's a very simple story, and that's something I do appreciate. It's not trying to be convoluted. It's very fun. Like, and the story is about like, hey, like you need to embrace the things that you are. For example, like for Rumi, like Rumi has these tattoos, right? Like it has these markings on her. The story is like she needs to embrace that because her hiding it is inhibiting her abilities to continue on or continue to be good at like what she's doing. Yeah, the story is just about like, hey, even if it's something that is bad or quote unquote shameful, you still need to embrace that in a way because that's still a part of you. And I think that is a very important lesson, honestly. I think it's very important to be like, hey, even the bad parts of you or like the parts that like will shame you for are things you still need to embrace or at least recognize and, you know, and see about yourself, because if you don't, then the more you hide it, the more it's just gonna mess you up. That's pretty much like the general premise of like what the message of the story is trying to say, and I think it's a very admirable thing, but it's also not something we haven't heard before. Why do I think this movie is super fun though? It's like, aside from the animations, I do love a lot of the choreography. I love how goofy it is. They even have a scene where like they first revealed the Saja boys. It's very K-drama, and if you've watched any K-drama, then you're very familiar with the romantic, like you're really familiar with the romantic music and the vignette of white and the slow-mo and the multiple camera angles just detailing one motion. Like, if you watch K-dramas, you're very familiar with that. And so I thought that was super fun. And it's just really a really fun, kind of not like a big meta commentary about the K-pop industry, but it is a commentary of sorts. It has a lot of fun, just like kind of like poking at the K-pop industry, where it's just like fans can get a little much, shipping culture can get a little much, and even like variety shows and stuff like that. Like, it has a lot of those things in it, which I think is very fun. Choreography as well with like the fight scenes are really good in my opinion. Nothing gets me more excited in a fight scene than fucking syncing up the action with the music. Oh, that shit will get me going. It's so cool. They do that with pretty much every fight scene, and there's like a part at the end where they're not even fighting anything. They're literally just walking. They're just strutting like a catwalk. Like, they're just like fucking strutting. And I was like, and they're strutting on beat. And I was like, yeah, strut, keep going. Let's go. Something I mentioned before was Huntrix, that the characters are just goofy. I think they're just really fun to like see and watch. And not saying that they don't have a range of emotions. They definitely do. But it's just really fun to see them be goofy. And so I'm sure people have seen the Derpy Tiger. I think it's just lovingly called the Derpy Tiger now. That tiger's so fucking cute. I love that tiger. I want a plush of it. I know they're making an official one, but I don't want to give into Netflix's capitalism, so I guess I'll just die. But I think that tiger is adorable. Kind of creepy, but it's just mostly adorable, and that's just something I will greatly appreciate. And so aside from the tiger, like, there's also a crow, which I think is cute. And I just think it's fun. Like, again, like, you get to see Huntrix in particular just get to be goofy and get to be unhinged, which is something we don't see often in this sort of like animation or this sort of movie. And I think that's just fun. I think that's just a great way to portray characters. All right, now to really dive into spoiler territory. So if you don't want spoilers and you want to watch this, please go to whatever the timestamp I'm gonna put on here is. If I remember, if I don't, I'm so sorry. I am gonna talk about spoilers because I have some critiques. I have some critiques of the movie, and they are very spoiler heavy. So, all right, now that the people who probably don't want to get spoiled, or if you do want to get spoiled and you just don't give a fuck, hi. A few things story-wise that I did not quite like. For one, we don't get a lot about Mira and Zoe. Yes, like we get to know their personalities and they're very fun, but we don't get to explore much about, especially like about the shame component. Like we have an idea of what they are, but we don't really get to explore it much. And so which makes like the whole thing with them kind of submitting to Guima and just like falling into like that desperation that the demons fall under really odd to me. Like I get it, like, it's very human to give into negative thoughts and just like feed into that. Like it's very, very common that people just feed into like a negative bias, right? However, I think it's just really odd that we don't get to know what Mira's and Zoe's are, especially since they're main characters. We don't get to see or hear or whatever about it much. Like we get like 2, maybe 3 scenes of like just like hints at what they are or who they are even before they became Huntrix or became a part of Huntrix, but not much else, and that's kind of disappointing to me. I wish we got more about Mira and Zoe. Like we know that Mira is from like a very wealthy family, but she's like the black sheep because she's more of like a rebel child. And then we have Zoe, who was like she was either born in America. I know she was from America, but like, and so like she's torn between 2 worlds of like, oh, do I like go with like this Korean culture or do I go with like this more Korean American identity? It's like that I can understand, but again, we don't get to like see or hear them like talk about like the things that they're shameful of or like what is shame to them. And so that's something that kind of bothered me. Furthermore, we don't know shit about any of the other Saja boys but Jinu, which I get, he is the main male lead, but who the fuck are these other 4, right? Like how did Jinu convince them to like be a boy band with them, right? Like who the fuck are these 4 other guys? Like another thing that kind of bothered me, and this might be controversial, I don't know, this might be a hot take. So towards the end of the movie, right, we have, I don't know, I feel like the final triumph or like that final like moment was undeserved. And I don't mean that as like, oh, like Huntrix should have lost. That's not what I mean. The whole sequence at the end is beautiful and all, but we had this scene with Rumi and Celine, who is like the predecessor, right? We have this whole scene of Rumi going to Celine just being like, you told me to hide, you told me XYZ. It's this really despairing moment for Rumi. And like Rumi says something along the lines of like, if this is the Honmoon I swore to protect, then I'm glad to see it get destroyed. Something along the lines of that. Like she's in this full despair mode. And Celine's just like, I thought it was for the best, and all this, a very generational trauma thing, right? But then the next scene we get with Rumi is her at the stadium, and I get like maybe she saw like Zoe and Mira being like all like mind controlled and stuff, or like really like enamored, or not enamored, but like, you know, giving into Guima. And Rumi's just like full on just fighting and just like okay again, like embracing like this demon part of her, which I'm like, cool, I'm glad you're embracing it, but at the same time, where did this come from? Because the scene we got right before is her talking about like how like Celine told her to hide it and all this stuff, but then the scene next is Rumi just like, I've embraced this and now I'm gonna fight. And it's just like, where did this come from? That's why I say it feels undeserved, because it's like, where did the character development and growth come from? It didn't really make sense to me, because we went from like a very despairing like scene to Rumi just like fully embracing herself, and I was just like, where did this come from? Like it was just really odd. And furthermore, another thing that I wish we would have gotten to explore more are Rumi's parents. We know her mom was a K-pop star before her and was in a group with Celine. And we also find out that, you know, Rumi's dad is a demon. What happened? What happened? like when they revealed that, in the movie, I was just like, oh, maybe this is gonna like kind of be like an explanation of like how a demon can still like be with the humans and whatever. It wasn't. It was not addressed literally in the slightest after it was revealed. I was like, what the fuck? Listen, we talked about generational trauma. This is also identity, like trying to figure out identity for someone, right? And so I'm like, where is this? Like, I just want to know more. I want to know the lore. That's pretty much the long end of it. I want to know lore of this fucking world and of these characters. Where's the lore? I need the lore, because it's like, it doesn't make sense that like so much of it was just so kind of glossed over. I need more, especially with Celine, right? Celine, who was a predecessor, is like, is this kind of like the thing where it's just like, oh, because she's not fighting anymore, she can't fight, or is she just a mentor figure? Like, is she the Zordon for them? Or is she able to fight and she just chose not to? Like, I need to understand. I want to know the reasoning, because like Celine's like, for a character that's so pivotal for Rumi's story, she really doesn't get much, and so I need to know more about Celine. Those are my main critiques, and like, the thing is, they don't all, but like maybe one of the things I said don't really detract my enjoyment of the movie. I just think it would bolster and like make the movie that much more, from a storytelling standpoint, that much more like attractive, that much more appealing, especially like the undeserved thing of like Rumi just suddenly like being like, yep, I embrace this. That doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense to me. I was just really hoping we could see more. So some people are really wanting a sequel or like a TV series, which I totally understand. It is very fun, it's very good, and if you watched my critiques portion, there could be things that could get explored in like a sequel or stuff like that. As much as I would love to see like a sequel, or not necessarily a TV series, but at least a sequel, I have reservations, because I get really scared about sequels now, because sequels are typically not the greatest. And the current state of media right now, sequels are not the greatest. But I'm also thinking, where's the sequel going to take us? Because like the demons are sealed. They're sealed, so they would have to create a new threat and all this stuff, and then people want Genu to come back, and I was like, if they make him come back, it's not gonna make sense. And so that's why I think a sequel's not gonna be great. If they do a sequel where it's like the next generation, or like something happens to the Honmun or whatever, then sure. And I was like, I don't know. I think a sequel that's just like totally unrelated would make the most sense. It's like they can still hunt demons. I don't know. I feel like they could just need to be very careful if they make a sequel. And people really want Genu and Rumi to have a happy ending, which I get. I totally get it. But you also forget Genu's like hundreds, if not thousands of years older than Rumi. So, but yeah, overall, I do think K-pop Demon Hunters is very fun. It's a very fun movie to put on and watch. If you just want to have a good time, like if you just kind of want to have something that's just like a fun like spectacle and has good music and just like it's enjoyable, go for it. I think it's a very fun movie to watch. And I will say, like, it's not like the deepest messaged movie, but it has a good message, and I think it has like a good meaning to it, and so I think that's something to also appreciate. I honestly was really hoping, like before the movie came out and when I knew the movie was like being made, something I was really hoping that the movie was gonna do was just be like a big meta commentary critique about the K-pop industry as a whole, because that shit, the K-pop industry is crazy. I think it's only gotten worse since like I was like really into it, which is saying something, because even when I was into it, it wasn't the greatest, but I think it's only gotten worse since. And so I was hoping it would just be like this big commentary about the K-pop industry, but it wasn't. And I was like, damn. So that's something I wish would have been explored a little bit more. That shit gets nuts, man. Like like, listen, I might not be super into K-pop now. I might not be like following it that much, but I know some things, and there's some shit about labels going on right now that's not good. And so I was really hoping that there was gonna be some commentary about the K-pop industry, but there's not. Something that I totally forgot to say is that I love that the English cast for the movie are all Korean, or like Korean American. I think that just adds onto the authenticity to the movie. And also, best character is the Derpy Tiger. Yeah, I said it. Please let me know what you thought about the movie, and let me know what you guys are hoping for, like if, in a sequel, perhaps, or a TV series, or even things that you don't like about the movie. Because I think like I'm a big firm believer that's like in order to like love something, you also have to be able to critique it, as long as it's not a person. And so I'll see you guys next time.